Hello everyone and welcome to a new lesson with Miss Rafa. Today we're going to start with the second semester. We're going to study Module 4, Unit 7, Critical Moments. Let's start with the lesson. On the edge. Critical moments. In groups of 3, discuss what you can see in the photos. Speak about a dangerous experience that happened to you, you heard about or watched in a film. Now, read the text about Titanic ship and do the tasks below. No one had believed it was possible. Let's see some vocabulary first. Iceberg, iceberg, iceberg. Atlantic, Atlantic, Atlantic. Drill, drill, drill. Sink, sink, sink. Survivor, survivor, survivor. Passengers, passengers, passengers. Steamship, steamship, steamship. Lifeboat, lifeboat, lifeboat. Now let's read the lesson. In 1912, the Titanic hit an iceberg on its first trip across the Atlantic. The Titanic was the largest ship that had ever traveled on the sea. It was carrying 2,207 people, but it had taken on enough lifeboats for only 1,178 people. Not more than 651 of the passengers were able to get into lifeboats. Some of the survivors had been in the icy water for hours when they were saved. Most of the passengers hadn't lived long. 1,502 people had lost their lives. But why was there such a great loss of life and so few survivors who were on the edge of death? Nobody had prepared for such a tragedy. Nobody had believed that the Titanic could sink. The steamship company had thought that its ship would be completely safe in all situations. They had followed an old rule for the number of lifeboats, so They had supplied lifeboats for only half the people. The passengers hadn't yet received their lifeboat numbers, or had they practiced lifeboat drill before the accident. Many of them hadn't even dressed warmly, for the ship had hit the iceberg late at night, and they didn't believe they were in danger. The ship had already received 6 ice warnings on its radio when it struck the iceberg. Nevertheless, it hadn't changed its direction or its speed. A tragedy like the sinking of the Titanic should never happen again. Now let's answer the following questions. What happened to the Titanic ship in 1912? In 1912, the Titanic ship hit an iceberg on its first trip across the Atlantic. Why were the survivors so cold? Because they were in the icy water for hours. Why hadn't the steamship company prepared for the tragedy? Because it had thought that its ship would be completely safe in all situations. How many people survived this horrible accident? Not more than 651 passengers survived. Question B. Match column A and B to give the words their correct definitions. Iceberg. A large mass of ice floating in the sea. Lifeboat. A small boat to save people on board if the ship sinks. To sink. To go down. Survivor. A person who continues to live after danger. To supply. To provide. Now we have the vocabulary. Complete the following statements with words from the text. The Titanic was the largest ship that had ever traveled on the sea. When some of the survivors were saved, they had been in the icy water for hours. The passengers hadn't yet received their lifeboat's numbers before the accident. Match A with B to complete the sentences. The Titanic was carrying 2,207 people, but it had taken lifeboats enough for only 1,178 people. Many passengers hadn't dressed warmly because they didn't believe that they were in danger. The ship had received 6 warnings when it struck the iceberg. It hadn't changed its direction or its speed after 6 warnings. Now let's study some pronunciation. We have the diphthongs. الديفثونغ هو وجود حرفين مع بعض ليشكلوا صوت جديد. Listen and repeat the A sound. لما بتجي ال E مع ال I بيعملوا صوت A. fail, bake, wait, wait, sake, sane, cape, wake. لاحظوا صوت ال A. Circle the words which had the A sound. Gaze, hate, day, key, sheep, shape, bait, sail, James, bet, shake, Abe. Now let's move on to writing. Rewrite the following sentences after selecting one choice given in brackets. Yesterday he. دائما بحط كلمة yesterday أول وبعد الفاعل. Yesterday he. بعد he بيجي الفعل found. بعد found لازم يجي مفعول به. A ring in his garden. هو وجد خاتم في حديقته. إذا ما نحط كلمة yesterday فاعل فعل مفعول به وآخر شي التتمة. I received. قلنا بعد الفعل لازم يجي المفعول به أول. I received an invitation to a party from my uncle. Now B. Correct the following sentences paying special attention to the word order. Then write similar alternative ones. You will have to write twice this drill. You will have to write this drill twice. أول شي بنحط اسم الشيء وبعدين بنحط قديش تكرر. It's pleasant to spend sometimes an hour in a library. كلمة sometimes إما منحطها ببداية الجملة أو منحطها بعد الفعل المساعد، فبتصير الجملة Sometimes it's pleasant to spend an hour in a library أو It's sometimes pleasant to spend an hour in a library. The teacher gave to the boy some good advice. The teacher gave the boy some good advice. أو بنقدر نقول The teacher gave some good advice to the boy. On my way to school happened something very funny. لازم نحط الفاعل قبل الفعل. Something very funny happened on my way to school. They both again reached home. كلمة again عادة بنحطها بنهاية الجملة. They both هم كلاهما reached الفعل home مفعول به وآخر شي بنحط again. They both reached home again. Used to live 2 doctors opposite our house. دائما لازم نبدأ الجملة بالفاعل ثم الفعل. 2 doctors used to live opposite our house. I used very often to visit in the country my cousin. أول شي منحط الفاعل I ومنحط الفعل used to. بعد to لازم يجي فعل بحالة المصدر visit. بعد الفعل لازم نحط مفعول به my cousin. منحط التتمة in the country. آخر شي منحدد قديش تكرر الفعل very often. That's everything for today. Thank you very much. See you next lesson.